Welcome, everybody. Thanks for coming to the third of this four-part marketing series. It's been great having this partnership with Kentucky producers and K-Card. So tonight we're going to be talking about harnessing the power of digital marketing. And again, excited to be partnering with the Kentucky Center for Agriculture and Rural Development on this series. And they do some awesome direct producer support, business and financial planning, and all of that jazz in Kentucky. And we are Rural Action. If you don't know us, encourage you to reach out. We do a lot of different things under our ag program, including webinars and workshops on farms, mentorship series through the winter, um, kind of direct producer resources like graphic design and access to a lawyer, and then a whole bunch of other initiatives around food access and food hub development. And this series is supported by a USDA grant under the Farmers Market Promotion Program. So shout out to that funding support. So I'm Molly Sowash. I'm Sustainable Agriculture Director at Rural Action. And I bring that hat to this topic through helping producers and kind of facilitating a lot of educational programming alongside Katie and my other esteemed colleagues. But I also come to marketing from the standpoint of owning and operating a farm called MoSo Farm in Athens, Ohio, with my husband, CJ, there in the photo. We raise grass-fed beef and pastured pork. And tonight, got some awesome panelists. I'm going to kind of overview for this first 20, 30 minutes, what does the research say about digital marketing and consumer trends right now? Walk us through the sales funnel and customer value journey and how we can kind of use digital marketing to guide customers along that journey. And then talk a little bit about some of the key digital marketing assets and some tips for creating those, website, email, newsletters, that type of thing. But then really hear from Lyndsay, Gina, and Adam, who are tonight's panelists, seeing a lot of the beautiful photos and websites and social media pages that they have, and have some good time for discussion. If you have questions, put them in the chat as they come to you. Katie will be checking in on that, and I think we'll wait probably till the end for the discussion to talk about those questions, but happy to keep the chat alive and well. And then I have some next steps too for those of you who are newer to the topic and maybe a little bit more further into it to take home.
I'm going to interrupt you real quick, Molly. Is
Sure.
someone
Yeah.
else seeing boxes on their screen, or is that just me? You're seeing it? Okay, cool. There seems to be some kind of like screen sharing issue. Maybe, Molly, if you unshare and then reshare,
Okay.
it's just like occluding some of the slideshow. I don't know why. I thought it was just me, so I was trying to troubleshoot it.
Okay, good call. Let's see. Oh boy.
No,
I'm
it's
gonna
still there.
really.
I know, I don't know why.
Do you want to pull it up?
Yeah, I totally can.
See if it works better on your screen.
Let's see. Is it working? Or are there still boxes?
That looks good to me.
Okay, cool. All right, I will run your slides for you, Molly, if that's okay.
That's great. Thank you.
Yep, no worries.
So you can go to the next slide and click through a little bit. So this report is from Salesforce, and they do this State of the Connected Customer report every few years. I think this is from their fifth edition. So this is like a survey of 13,000 customers, I think 4,000 businesses from across 29 countries. So it's really broad. It's not just about farm marketing, but it does really show that customers prefer digital engagement more and more as than they used to. So the average consumer now uses more than 3 channels to communicate with businesses. They're engaging with businesses on websites, social media, text message, et cetera, et cetera. 57% of customers prefer this, engaging through these digital channels. And I was surprised 53% of customers prefer to purchase online versus in store. I think this is probably varies based on the sector and potentially in the food space, they might want a little bit more of an in-person experience, but like regardless, the majority of people really like to shop online. Also, it emphasized that customer experience is as important as the product itself. So how they engage with your business and like see themselves reflected in it. A whopping 88% of customers consider their experience to be as important as its products, and this is the highest it's ever been in their customer research. And because there is so much, marketing happening in the digital space, it's easy to switch brands. And so 71% of consumers switched brands at least once in the past year, which means the competition is easy to find and easy to switch to, but all the more important to be kind of using the digital tools that we have access to. And then a majority, 3/4 of consumers expect that brands will understand their needs and preferences. So it's our job as businesses to kind of market to those needs. It also really emphasized that businesses should lead with their values, or customers expect that, I'll say. So right now, we're experiencing kind of a downturn in public trust of the media and of government generally, but trust in businesses is on the rise, interestingly. And so customers are expecting that businesses not only meet their needs, but do so in responsible ways. And they're looking for companies that act with society's best interest in mind, that are, aware of environmental and social issues and, doing their business's part to like help resolve those things. 78%, really, really high percent of customer purchase decisions are swayed specifically by environmental practices, and that has a ton of implications for the industry of farm and food businesses. And 66% have chosen to stop buying from companies whose values didn't align with their own. And so I think you'll hear tonight from the panelists that, sharing those values and sharing those stories and making it very clear to customers kind of like what your business and your brand is about helps you dial into like what that specific customer base is for your type of product. Okay, so that's kind of, why are we talking about digital marketing? But wanted to walk us through the concept of the sales funnel. Customers need to find you first and go through a kind of series of steps to gain the understanding of who you are and gain the trust in your business before they make a purchase. I think Lyndsay was saying earlier when we met some research on having to hear your name or hear your message like 9 times before they take an action. And so kind of broadly speaking, the sales funnel is this. The first step is awareness. Someone who's never heard of our farm, MoSo Farm, has to first hear that name in the ether, and they might find it online. So they might Google farms near them and see us. They might see us as walking past our farmers market booth or hear a friend mention us, but it's just some name in the back of their head. And so at this stage, this is really like new customers, and our job is to drive traffic to our website, because that is kind of our first display of who we are. And it could be your Google business, your social media, but in the digital space, you're trying to drive new eyes to your pages. Then a customer discovers you for the first time. Maybe they go to your website, and now they're interested and they want to kind of learn more. And your job at this stage is to capture their interest, to kind of, share what your brand is about, create that brand awareness. Use lead magnets, we'll talk about a little bit, which is incentive to capture their emails, to kind of like have that email captured so you can communicate with them that way moving forward. at this stage, they might also stumble upon your social media and, is the latest post that they see on your social media from 2023, or is it an active and engaging place? So they found you, they're interested. Now they're doing a little bit of a deeper search and considering who you are. This might be weeks later. They heard your name weeks ago, then you come up again, they consider you again. And here's where we need to nurture those potential customers. They're gaining familiarity with us. And so informing them about your brand's values, having a nice video that displays what's our farm about and what product do we have to offer, or a sequence of emails that nurtures those potential customers. Then it's evaluation. And so because customers are coming with some sort of need, our job is to help identify how our product is the solution to their need. And so making clear what our products are, whether those any customer doubts that come up or questions that you have ready answers to, maybe establishing credibility in your brand through reading other customer testimonials, really trying to provide all of the information as they evaluate potentially making a small or a large purchase. And then hopefully they've gone through all of this awareness, interest, consideration, evaluation, and they finally feel confident about making that first purchase. And this could just be like a pack of bacon at the market. This is how much they have to kind of consider and learn about you. So they make the first purchase because you've made some kind of compelling offer. In the digital space, you might be doing this via email, have it listed on your website. It could be in person at a farm stand, but people aren't going to buy unless we make the offers. And so one way to do this, I've seen people, offer incentives, 15% off your first purchase to kind of get that person in the door to make that first purchase and excite them about it. And then hopefully enhance reputation in your product. And then the work is not done. They've made the first purchase, but we need to keep them engaged and keep them excited about all of the other offerings we have so that they become loyal customers and keep coming back. The profitability of our businesses is in those recurring customers who stick with us for years and years. And so at this stage is where we want to educate the customers. How do you use this product? How do you get excited about deepening your cooking? Make more and more compelling offers to try to increase their average order value. And then maybe you have a system to reward repeat buyers, or you give them some kind of discount for referring a new customer to you. There's lots of different things you can do at each stages of this funnel. So on this next slide, I also want to talk about it in a different way. I'm guessing some of you have heard about Corinna Bench is on the left there. She has a podcast called My Digital Farmer. And it's focused all on marketing for farms. And so she kind of shows the sales funnel in this way through the customer's eyes as a customer value journey and breaks it out into a little bit more boxes, starting in the bottom left with the downtrodden customer who has a need and is, searching for the solution for it. So I'm going to briefly go through this. I did this just as a little exercise for my farm on what we do or should do better at each of these stages. But I would recommend this could be one takeaway is print this off and write down how, what can you do to kind of move customers along each part of this pathway. So in the bottom left, in awareness, one thing we do is have a website and work on our SEO, which is search engine optimization, to help have our website come and rise to the top of Google searches. You could also create a Google business profile so that when people look up your farm, they can see where you're located and your hours, photos, that kind of thing. There's a couple of different farm databases. One is called Local Harvest, where we have our farm listed. And so that's where someone might Google a farm near Athens and they might see our name come up. And of course, there's also non-digital ways to do this. You could put flyers around town in key spots, have a really enticing market stand or farm store that people want to, drive to or stop by. And again, a social media page that they may stumble upon because someone shared your post or you had a giveaway. Lots of things you can do to get the awareness. And then once they find you, how do you engage them? So having a clear and engaging website with the information that people are looking for. We periodically ask customers for reviews and say, will you go to the Google business page and review our farm? So we see active reviews that are up to date. Interesting social media page I've mentioned, even in person. So someone sees your name at the farmer's market, but what brings them into your stand? You have recipes to offer, you have stickers to take home, you have a deal or something like that. We also do periodic social media giveaways with like a cast iron or whatever it is to kind of drive more traffic to our pages. And then subscribe is that, getting the email. And so I mentioned lead magnets, which is, on your website, some giveaway or some take home incentive to, if the person gives you their email, they get to download a delicious recipe or they get to get a code to get a % off their first purchase. I also ask for emails a lot on social media, just saying, post coming out, to send a newsletter, drop your email and I'll add it to our newsletter. Or you could have a physical sign up at the market. So then you've got the email, and this is where you're trying to kind of close the deal on a first purchase. So converting in this kind of box, we have an email sequence to new followers. And I notice a lot of other farms that have that kind of an automated sequence. Once your email is added to the newsletter, you have, you'll get 4 emails in the next 4 weeks introducing you to the farm, about how to buy from us, what our sustainable practices are. Try to make compelling offers to those first-time customers. We have a customer survey. If they complete it and give us some information about them, they have 10% off their first order, et cetera, et cetera. And then is this excite phase that Corinna talks about. I will admit we are not as good at this stage. I'll be curious if panelists have things they do. But they've made the first purchase, and how do you instill kind of trust that they made the right purchase and that they're excited that they spent money with you? Could have a follow-up thank you coupon. Maybe you have some cooking videos, or if they're making a really big purchase, like if they buy half a beef with us and spend a couple thousand, would love to someday have like a recipe book for them, something to sort of keep them engaged with you after they've made that purchase. And then ideally they, ascend the ladder. They buy more and more of what you have and, try out more of your portfolio of products. And so how do you kind of keep showing them other products you have to increase that average order value and keep them coming back for more and not getting bored with your business? I know some people use Facebook groups for their regulars where they share recipes and they share cooking videos. That's one thing. I've considered whether we could do like a punch card at the market where you get, you buy 10 products, you get the 11th free or something like that. These are things you see as as we are all customers in this world. Coffee shops are the classic one for the punch card to keep you coming back. And then ideally they get to this stage. In the last slide, it was loyalty. In this, it's advocate and promote, where they've hopefully become loyal customers and really love what you have and believe in your mission and your values, and then go and advocate on behalf of your business. And so asking for testimonials and Google reviews, offering, rewards for referrals. We do an annual report every year that's about kind of like our impact as a farm. And so we feature a customer of the year, ways you can kind of keep those loyal customers taken care of. And then they're off in the world promoting for you. And, how are you, regularly kind of appreciating them for that, whether it's gifts, free seat at a farm to table dinner, or, a way to keep them to really appreciate those. Those are the customers that, over their lifetime of spending with you are the bulk of your profits. Okay, so that's customer value journey. Now, there's a lot of types of digital marketing assets, and we'll hear each panelist go through theirs. But I wanted to just put them all out on the screen. So the top ones we've talked about are website, there's an email newsletter, social media. Those are kind of the big three. But then your Google, or there's also Apple business profiles. You could have professional videos and photos like Gina's family photo there, a podcast. You'll hear more from Lyndsay about that. Farms have YouTube channels. If you host events and send home digital event materials, workshops, things like that, online courses, and Facebook groups. And I am probably even missing some yet. There's a lot to build in the digital world. I'm going to briefly go over those top three, but mostly kind of included these slides so you can refer back to them afterwards. So I'll be swift about this section. Here's some steps to creating a website: purchasing your domain name, securing web hosting, picking, a website builder. There's some listed there on the right, definitely not all. And choosing a template and building your pages. Most of us use a website builder because we don't know how to write code. If you do, that is amazing. You can go that route, but most people use a builder that you can kind of drag and drop sections of your website and kind of build it out according to your language and your brand or style, like you discussed last week. And then if you are selling through your website, considering, what payment processor you're going to use and how to build a store within your website. A couple things on kind of design tips. And I put Gina's farm website here, which she just kind of revamped, FreshORR Family Farms. So using consistent branding, this is like sometimes the first place people discover you. And so you see Gina's logo and her consistent colors and fonts throughout it. There's usually a setting where you can, look at your website as someone would see it through a phone, and keeping that in mind because so many people shop on their phones. I'm not going to go into how to kind of do search engine optimization, but if Google it, there are different tips and tricks to, setting up your pages so that they are easily readable by Google. Keeping contact information, quote unquote, above the fold, like the fold of the newspaper, keeping it really accessible. A lot of the times people are just going to your farm your website to find the email, to find where you're located. And so I see in the top left, her menu says get in touch right there, and her contact information is there. Using quote unquote white space or blank space is websites that are just really crowded with text. And so how do you boil down your language to be pretty concise? And it might be counterintuitive because you want to throw all the information out there, but there's this nice, beautiful, big photo on her homepage where there's plenty of space around, the words that she wants us to really focus in on. Ensuring fast page speeds. There's things you can do like reduce the size of your photos so you can increase load time. People will click away fast when things aren't loading. And then incorporate a call to action. So this is a really important one. If you have a store built into your website, you really want them there to shop. And so right when you get here, before scrolling down, I can see two places where I can go shop for premium meats or shop her products. If your call to action is sign up for our CSA, that's right there front and center. And this could change over time based on what you need people to do when they get there. But people are there and you want to show them what you want them to do. Focus on the user experience. It can be helpful if you're building out a website to pass it off to someone who doesn't know much about you or a family member. Say, does this, what questions do you have after looking through this? What is the primary information that a newcomer wants to see? And then I've talked about lead magnets, but if we scroll down, there might be a pop-up that says, download this recipe or, come to our first workshop free and give us your email to do so. Okay, email newsletters. This is a big one. Often a farm's primary communication with customers in an ongoing way. And there are a lot of different softwares that you can use to build out emails. We use MailChimp. There's a lot more than I had listed here that I've heard folks use. Yeah, you can go to the next slide, I think. This one. Couple things. Put Lyndsay's one of her emails here. What's a subject line that's gonna make people want to open it? This one says free money, honey. Like, who's not gonna open that? You want a nice looking header. It's got Wildroot Flower Company's logo at the top. A nice background, gorgeous flowers. Probably below that, didn't have room to put it on the screen, some kind of headline saying what this email is about. Is it clean? Again, using like white space so that people can, not be overwhelmed by too much text and it's scannable. A lot of visuals, photos go a long way. And then once again, just like the website, a call to action. How do I get the free money? There's got to be a button somewhere, right? Also put one from FreshORR Farms that's a little more storytelling about, how their farm got started. And then social media. Look at Adam. This is where you want to attract and engage customers. Ask them to join your email newsletters. Show them behind the scenes. People love seeing how farming works. And it's always is shinier on social media. We know that. But what percent, I think such a small percent of the population farms that I think just seeing what is the day in the life of a farmer is really enticing. I've heard people say consider the 3 E's in posts. So, a third of the time it's educational, a third of the time it's entertainment, and a third of the time it's e-commerce or pushing up, making an offer. I don't exactly follow that, but it's nice to consider like the types of posts if you're feeling in a rut. This is also where you can show off your products. Show it, you're grilling our pork chops. Adam's showing his beautiful salad at a conference. Increase your brand visibility, reach. And also, it's not just for customers to learn about you. You can also learn a lot about your customers on social media. I've posted polls, I've posted questions. What do you want to hear more about from us? You can follow your customers to kind of understand their pain points and what, kind of lifestyle they live. And then discover the latest industry trends, following other businesses, learn a lot and get a lot of creative ideas from following other farms. Show your face. This is a personal tip. I think if you want to be, or if you are a business that is selling direct to consumer, and you want people to live by the phrase, know your farmer, they have to know what you look like. And so I see a lot of pages who, they're trying to capture customers' attention. It's like if you ever go to someone's Facebook page and all you see is a bunch of, profile photos that are like cats and flowers, and you're like, who is this person though? It's a little like mysterious. So it can be a little uncomfortable at first. But if, you get used to it, I think showing your face as the farmer behind the operation is really powerful. And also the algorithms and people like faces and they do better. But then ultimately just be original, be authentic to yourself. What works, what you're interested in is going to be the most exciting thing to hear about for the people following you. Yay, I did it in 24 minutes. So we're going to dive into each panelist and what digital assets they have. Excited to have Gina here from FreshORR Family Farms, and Adam from Blaney Family Farm, and Lyndsay from Wildroot Flower Company. I'll let them introduce themselves and we'll kick it off with Adam.
How's it going, all? Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Good deal. Good deal. So my name's Adam, as Molly said, and my wife and I operate Blaney Family Farm. We grow vegetables and cut flowers in Albany, or just outside of Albany, and we sell at the Athens Farmers Market. And we have a CSA program, and then we have a lot of wholesale accounts we sell to restaurants and grocery stores in Athens and in Vinton County and some places around here as well. So those are our primary outlets. We're a small farm. We grow about an acre and a half of vegetables, but we grow super intensely so we can pack a lot of food into a small space. So we push a lot of volume out of our small little spot. So um, so we have think I have four things on the right there, some different assets or different avenues that we market our farm digitally. As with most farms, the website is sort of I guess, the grounding point or the hub that we try to let people guide people to. So when we were designing our website, and I guess from an advice standpoint, we spent a whole lot of time early on designing a good website. We used Squarespace because it was easy, but it was also you can make really nice, beautiful websites. We did it 6 years ago, 7 years ago now, so it really probably needs an update. Some things I tried to do little updates along the way, but it goes a long way to build a nice website because if you've been to other farm websites and it looks like it's from the 1990s, it doesn't bode well for people sticking around and wanting to learn more information. So when we were building our website, it did it for two main reasons, things that we had in mind. At first, we wanted it to be simple and we wanted it to be attractive. So I wanted it to look pretty. I wanted it to be something that would catch people's eye with lots of photos and our logo and all the things so they could recognize who we were. And that was primarily what we wanted to do at first, is we wanted people to know who we were. Our sort of the mission and the values of who we are as a farm is based around community. So we we really value relationships and we really value people understanding what they're buying or sort of what they're buying when they're buying from us. So that when they're buying food from us, I want them to know that they're helping to put shoes on my kids' feet and things like that. So I want all the images of who we are as people to be present up front. And so we sort of put that at the forefront, that I want pictures of us. I want people to know that we're a small local farm. I want them to know where we're at, that we're engaged in our community, that Athens and the surrounding area means something to us. And then also that I want to communicate what our values are. So CSA is the main, I guess, it's not our primary outlet for vegetables, but it's a really significant part of our income is CSA, and it's something that we believe in and that we value a lot. So we put a lot of effort into driving people to our CSA program. So that becomes the thing that is primary. So on the other pages of our website, we put a lot of information explaining sort of sustainability, why it matters to us, why we grow organically, why it matters to us that we have people and that we want people to come to the farm and that we want people to be there. So just in a relational way, we wanted to communicate that to people with our website. And second, more tangible, like I said there in the bottom, we drive all of our traffic there to buy our in order to buy a CSA share, you have to go to our website. We don't sell any personally. You have to go on the website and click on the link in order to buy a CSA share, and that just introduces people to a lot more. And we do the same with our pizza night. We have events on the farm, and for anybody to come to the farm, you have to go to the website first and register so that it just drives that traffic. So the website, I don't do a lot of updating to it. It just sort of exists and has a lot of information there. I need to do some more updates, but yeah, it's sort of the hub, sort of the grounding post. So that's a good one. You can move to the next one. Email newsletters. We at our farm, and I've made a choice as the main marketer here, that we do not do a ton of email like newslettery stuff. Um, there are a lot of people who will disagree with that, and probably our other two, I think, write really nice newsletters, and so they'll probably disagree with this. But for me, I was spending too much time writing emails and spending too much time to make them perfect, and it was wasting my farm time to be able to do what I want. But when we do, I really try. We use MailChimp, and we send a lot of emails primarily for our customers who are already engaged, for people who are already understand who we are. They've signed up for our newsletter, and we do it primarily for like letting people know CSA information, when signups are going to be live for the fall, or when they can log onto the website and get the most up-to-date information, or when we have pizza nights and when the events are going to happen. And so I don't use it as much as other people do, just because it wasn't working for me as a farm. That's not I guess I know there's some challenges with that because the email newsletter is where you own your audience and you own this information and you own those people. Your list is something that you are as opposed to social media. But for us, it has just been I just use it sparingly. That's just been my choice, and it's worked out for us so far. But it's going to be different for everybody, I think. So, but yeah, Mailchimp is a great one. We have to use the paid service because we sell or we send out enough that we have to pay for it, but it's fairly minimal and it's workable, and we get plenty of return based from our emails out of it. So yeah, that's it for that one. Social media is I choose to use social media primarily as a relational tool. So Molly, you saw on the last post that Molly had. I put my ugly face up there as much as possible. I want people to see who we are. I want people to see me act like a fool and make a fool of myself and just do stupid things. And it gets people's attention just because they see us as people and not necessarily as this professional business owner that's above somebody. I want them to see that we're just people, and that I want them to see my kids running around, and I want them to see the baby chickens, and I want them to see all the things just because it builds relationships with people. And so I try to mix up my content of what I produce to be, a mix of fun, silly posts, a mix of some honest ones, like when, sometimes farming sucks, and I want to tell people that so they can understand what kind of things we're struggling with or going through. I try to put some informational ones out, how we're trellising our tomatoes last week, or, something like that so that people can get some information. Um, and then I don't do a ton of salesy stuff on our social media, only when big time. So when CSA shares go on sale, we'll spend quite a bit of time sharing that kind of information, getting people directing there. When we have pizza nights or events on the farm, I do a lot of that pushing. But I don't choose to do a lot of salesy stuff on there. I just want it to for people to engage. Um, and oddly enough, it does create some visibility. I've had probably a dozen times. And Athens is not a huge town, but people will grab me in Kroger or will say, "Hey, aren't you the lettuce guy?" Or something crazy like that. And I have no idea who they are. I don't know if they're followers. I've never met them. They don't come to the market, but they've seen my Instagram somehow. So it does reach people. And our focus primarily is to do like I'm not in it to make you know, really cool reels that reach San Diego, California, and we get 1 million followers. I don't care about that because those aren't going to be people that I sell to. I want my local people to know who we are. And I don't care if I get 700 likes on a reel, if I get 75 likes on a reel from people who live in Athens and who are going to shop at the farmers market. That's all that really matters to me. And so it's helpful. It is a catch-22 because, like last week, I made a really nice reel about how to trellis tomatoes, and Instagram decided to not share it with almost anybody. So it was I had 2 or 3 people say, I really like that, but only like 100 people saw it. And, it was just very small. So you're at the mercy of the algorithm, which is why social media can be not the place to put your trust in marketing. But it is helpful. It does a lot of good for us, and it's easy and fun, and it doesn't require a ton of time if you just get used to it. So yeah, that's it. And yeah, this is a professional photos. Always recommend. iPhones are better all the time at taking photos, and you can make really nice photos with them, but nothing beats having a professional photographer come and just follow you around for a little while and take some really nice photos that you can use on your website. We save them all. I have a big Google Drive full of all these photos that people have taken that we can stick on flyers or pamphlets or whatever we want to do in our social media, on our advertisements, all that kind of stuff. It's really nice to have some professional photos that you can rely on that don't just look like you took a picture with your iPhone. Yeah, it's just very helpful. So I've not done a video. I have a couple people who want to come and do the drone footage and do all that, but that just means my farm has to be cleaned up and look nice for them to do that. And I just haven't made it super great time for that to do. So yeah, I think that's some of mine. I probably have my time up probably at this point.
Thanks, Adam. Yeah, and we'll hear more as people have questions. But we'll pass it to Gina.
Well, good evening, everybody. Real quick here. So I am Gina. I am the owner of FreshORR Family Farms. We are a women-owned business. We're family run though. We started in 2013, just raising some chickens for ourselves, and by word of mouth, everything grew. In 2018, 19 is when we decided to take it from more of a hobby farm to a business, and it was successful. In 2022, I was actually able to leave my job, and now I'm full time on the farm. And at that time, that's when we decided. My husband said, "Here, it's your farm now. You know what you're doing." So I'm handing it off. So him and the kids support me, but it really is just the five of us that run everything here. This year, we were finally able to start hiring help, which has been fantastic. But it was definitely a slow process for us. We were never ones to jump in head first into anything. We have taken year by year to see where we were led and where we were to grow. So please don't ever feel like you have to, be at a certain level by a certain time. It really depends on you. And the last thing you want to do is get burned out. So that's kind of my little word of advice here. It's just, go with the flow. So, but I'll go ahead and talk about this stuff now. I made sure and took some notes, but this is our website. As Molly mentioned, I did just revamp it 2 weeks ago. I think I sent her the revised copy. I am still working on it. If you happen to skim through it and you're like, she's got no recipes, nothing really in her blog, that's because I have 82 pages of stuff to upload again from the previous website. So to give me a little time on that, but I do revamp it every 2 years. I do that for several reasons. One is I grow with the website. So I learn from our customers exactly what it is they need to hear from me. So I am allowed to adjust that based on our customers' needs from us, the ease of shopping with us, the information that they really need to hear, not necessarily what I think I want to tell them. So I've been able to do that every 2 years. We do use Squarespace. For us, it was what we started with. Squarespace has, every time I've gone to redo a new website, Squarespace has had new features. Everything has become easier over time. So I was able to get this done, I think, in a week. And that is with chores and being a mom and everything else. So I was able to get this done very quickly, where in the beginning it probably took me a lot longer than that. The website is the hub of our business. It is where I send everybody to get information. Like I said, it has evolved over the years. This is where people have access to place orders with us. So I need to make sure that's very clear and very easy. They place orders for home delivery as well as pickup here at the farm. This is also here, this might be a good tip for you. So even though you may not see a whole bunch of recipes on the tabs that I have visible, I have over 20 recipe books and then a whole bunch of individual pages that are linked but not visible to everybody on our website. The reason I do this is this continues to allows us to have traffic sent to our website by our email list. So when I send an email, I kind of have a cycle of, I have 6 emails, and every within that 6, there's always a recipe that is linked back to our website. So it keeps traffic constantly going to our website, which helps bump you up in the listing. The goal of my website is to begin building that trust, as well as provide an easy, straightforward path on how to get our products. And again, it speaks for me. It allows me to get in front of people and explain what I think they need to hear instead of me having to stand in front of them and go through the whole spiel. So you can go ahead and go forward. So I do use our email newsletter as kind of storytelling in the sense. When I write an email, I write to one person. So I don't think of all of my customers. I think of my ideal customer. Usually I'll pick someone that does shop from us, and I will write it as if I'm writing to them. That allows it to be very personal and allows it to be, when our customers do read the email, that they feel like it was written especially for them. In our weekly emails, again, I kind of have a sequence, but ideally what it is, update on the farm, update on what's going on with us as a family. I will do home delivery reminders, or when has a little section when the store is open. It allows them to know when popular items are restocked. Like right now, we're in that transition period of what I have left before our birds and everything is processed, and where I'm able to have a full freezer full of everything again. So I can keep them updated on what we still have left and remind them this is what's coming. It's coming, kind of, being able to get them all excited. Again, this is where I will include recipes. I try to highlight a cut of meat every month, explain how to cook it right, and include recipes that go along with that, kind of a educational aspects of what we provide. Our newsletter is our strongest tool to drive repeat customers, as well as nourish that customer relationship. I'm very open in our emails. These are the people that look to us to help feed their families. So I'm very open in discussing things with them in our emails. I know that I do send our emails weekly, and I know Adam does it differently, which I wish I could do it like that. For me, I like sending them weekly. It keeps me on a schedule. I've also have enough emails over the years where I can actually repurpose some of them, especially when we are launching a farm event, or when we're taking deposits for shares, or just that time of year. But the cool thing is, once I know that email hits, within an hour or so after that email being sent and our customers receive it, those orders start coming in. So it keeps us fresh in their mind to place an order with us. And as Adam mentioned about, the cool thing about it is everybody on this email list is my email list. It's not going to go away. Social media can't take it away from me. So this allows me to get in front of my customers every time. I know when I send that email, it gets to their inbox. I know there's some little things going on with that, with some of the email systems, that sometimes it does end up in promotions. There are ways around that, though, to help get more and more into your customer's actual inbox. So you can go ahead and go to the next slide. So social media. I wish I could do what Adam does on social media, where he doesn't have time for email. I don't have time for social media. I can do stories all day long. I can take a snap, tell you what's going on in that moment. But one of my goals for this year actually is to really work hard to do more intentional social media posting. Again, stories I do. Doing actual posts sometimes can be difficult when there's something exciting going on, like the one picture here with Mavis, our bottle-fed lamb. That's exciting. I can easily talk about that. Sometimes I'm just tired. I don't have any more in me to be able to share. One thing I do try to do is to take some of the content from my email newsletter and see if I can repurpose it in my social media so I don't have to recreate things. Sometimes that's not as easy, though, depending on what you're talking about that week in your email. So again, this is one of my goals, but I think this also brings back the idea that you don't have to be perfect in everything right from the get-go. It's constant growth, it's constant changing, and I'm not ashamed that this is not where I want it to be, but I do know that it's not where it was last year, and that makes me feel good. So I try to use social media as kind of like a journal. I like to express my thoughts, my views on what I see throughout the day on the farm, kind of reminding people why we do what we do. So yeah, we can go to that one. So this is one example of the recipe cards that I include in our emails. It's not always, again, we're meat people, right? So that's what we raise as livestock, but I don't always include that because I know who my customer is. I know what they, or in my case, what she wants. And I know that she wants to feed her family better. So I can go outside the box and I can be like, all right, well, here's my recipe for, fudgesicles. So here's our homemade frozen fudge pops. And I know that, we get a lot of feedback on our recipes. So some other things that we do with guides is that we actually have, a whole guide to buying pork. We have a whole guide to, why grass-finished beef is different than grain-finished, how to cook it, kind of debunking some myths along the way. In addition, we also do lead magnets. So lead magnets for us has always been trial and error. So I started out with recipe guides and recipe books. They were hit and miss. I would even change them seasonally. What I found though were guides worked really well, where I was able to give a whole bunch of information about something that maybe they didn't understand, or again, debunk myths, or answer their questions, or provide even, again, a guide can be, I think Corinna has one. She's used one years ago. She may still use it, like, is a CSA right for you? Where you can go in there and you can find out information to be like, okay, this is what I want, or this isn't what I want. Recently, when I revamped the website, I did change our lead magnet to actually be free home delivery for your first delivery, and that's because right now I'm in a position to where we have the ability to increase our home delivery routes. So that is where I'm focused right now, and it has been very successful for us. Very. So I'm excited to see how that keeps going. But here soon, I'll probably change it again to something else, depending on I don't know what feels right at that moment or what I feel like trying out. So okay, okay, so you can move on. So, we do have a professional farm video. We had this done along with family photos a couple years ago. It was a lot of fun to do. If you ever listen to it, you can hear my voice crack because even saying the words that I wanted to tell people, the emotion was there that I wanted to share with people. This again brings people to the farm without actually having to come to the farm first. It allows them to see us as a family. It allows us to see the chores that we're doing, how we work together. And it gives them a glimpse of how we do things. If you're, so I do say invest in that. It's not something you have to do all the time. And nowadays, again, drones are easily accessible, and working with a photographer would be very easy to do this. We have been published in a few magazines and interviews, and I think those are important. They give validation. I do plan on adding a page to our website that says in the news and to include that information. I also have this video plus our interview with CAN, Community Alliance for Nutrition, on social media. So again, it's kind of pinned at the top. So again, it can explain a little bit about us right for the get-go from somebody that does want to, is curious about what we do, who we are, and what we offer. But yeah, farm videos, professional photos. We have our photographer friends come out, take pictures. We do family pictures, and then we quickly get undressed out of the nice clothes and start doing some farm work. And they just follow us around, and it's really cool because they actually get a kick out of it. And you would be surprised how many photographers will barter with you. So if you have something to offer, you usually they'll even approach you about it and say, hey, if you got a beef share coming up, or I'll take care of your pictures for the rest of the year, or something like that. So don't be afraid to offer that up, because that, and obviously, will save you money in the long run. So I think that's it for me. I know that was a lot.
That's great. No, there's a lot to cover. Thank you, Gina. Over to Lyndsay.
Hey. Hey all, I'm Lyndsay. I have Wildroot Flower Company in Marietta, Ohio, and we sell, we only sell cut flowers. We're on just a little under 3 acres right now, and we do workshops. I would say our main focus is agritourism, but so we do workshops, CSA subscriptions, weddings, just a lot of things, grocery store. In the process of, as Gina was talking about, like doing the slow, we do a lot of things. I'm in the phase of my business now, and this is our 9th season of just sort of peeling back on what yeah, just into more profitable sectors, getting some things that are more balanced for myself. So, yeah. In addition to this, with the farm, I also run a flower farming podcast called The Dirt on Flowers with a friend of mine up in Akron. So, I do kind of juggle two businesses that sometimes it can pull me in several different directions. But my website, so my website, like kind of everything that Adam and Gina both talked about, it's kind of the same thing for me. This serves as sort of my place that I direct everybody back to. So I sort of think of this as my home. So, you can look at Facebook and Instagram and these places as sort of your porch, or they're driving by on the road and you're like, hey, this is me, this is who I am. And then the invite in that is to get them to come to my website, to come to my house, to come to the place where I want them to stay. I want them to hang out. I want them to read my blogs. I want them to, think about visiting the farm through the U-Pick and all those different ways. And so that's how we do that. I have a very, like, if you go onto my website, I have a very workable homepage. So I am constantly changing this. This right now in the beginning, so that used to say where it says on-farm workshop experience, create, connect, and bloom. It used to talk about our cutting garden boxes. So like whatever's up for me and I'm trying to push, that's what's at the top of my website. So if they click on that photo, there's an action item below it that takes them into like, what is the next thing? So it's a constant kind of scroll where they don't have to click on any one thing. It'll scroll into CSA subscription, U-Pick, weddings are usually down at the bottom, a little bit about me. And yeah, so that's kind of my main place. There's a place to contact. And then we do use lead magnets as well. But I can talk about my email newsletter here next. You can go on. So, I do use, unlike what Adam was saying, I do use my email newsletter weekly, and so I use that to communicate with my community. And so, it's where they get stories about me, the farm, flower tips. I sometimes think they're reading my diary. I don't, I just share what's going on with me and my life, and it relates to them. And so I do send them weekly. But I do give myself, I will say, permission to not post. If I have something I just like last week, I was just tired. I took 3 days off in the middle of May because I needed it. And so I just said, it's okay, Linz, like you just get a pass. So those are things that I do really spend a lot of time on. Now, I will say, Adam, when Adam was talking about I used to spend forever on my email newsletters. Like, I worried about what it was. I will say that my insecurity from when I was younger in school was English. I was raised in Southeast Ohio. My grammar is probably not fabulous. And so I have just leaned into that that's who I am. I care less about what it is when I post, and I share that. I'm able to share those stories and connection points. I'm laughing, Gina talking about sharing recipes. So when I share recipes on my email newsletter, it's always because I openly talk about not cooking a lot. And so it's always like, hey, y'all, I made this. You should try it. I was successful. Go me. So like the people who have been a part of my email newsletter for, years, and in the beginning, it was mostly just my mom's friends. And now over the course of the 9 years, we have, some of them are other farmers, but we have about 8,000 people on our newsletter. So I know that those are people that are buying our Dahlia products. They're going to be attending our events. And so it is something that I can, when we are connecting, and that's also another thing, is that I'm not selling at them every time. So they know that they're going to get an email from me that I may be subtly selling at you, at the very bottom through a PS or a teaser of like, hey, this is what's coming up. We're getting ready to sell our Design and Dine tickets. And so that's how I use it through the email newsletter, is I want them to have something entertaining that they want to actually open, and for them to see value from, even if it's just the value is like relating to the fact that, yeah, man, I need 3 days off in the middle of May too, and I'm going to inspire somebody to do that, by being honest about it. So that's kind of how we use our how we use our newsletter. And then I also, at the very bottom, I talk about, I always include our social media posts for the week because we have a lot of people who don't get our social media or don't have Facebook. And so I include it as like a social media roundup. And I kind of poke fun at it and just say, like, you don't have to see your neighbor's downward spiral about politics. So here's my social media. And I kind of put it at the bottom. So that's, I just more playful. Social media, love, hate with social. Again, I try to be consistent year round with this, and I do try to do a mix of connection post with education and kind of sharing what it is that we do. I do try to repurpose content from my whatever's in my email newsletter, and then I do directly ask for, I would encourage you to do this. I just started it probably last year, that I created a landing page through MailChimp that has a Facebook lead magnet tag. And I just ask people to join my newsletter directly through Facebook. And so I thought, well, I don't want to be pushy, but I'll make a post that'll say, here's what I've got going on. If this seems like your vibe, whatever, here you go. Here's a link to join our page. And so at any one time when I make that post, I'll get between 70 to 100 local people on my Facebook page to join my email newsletter. So, anything like that. But to me, I don't have much faith in that these aren't going to be taken from us, with Instagram and Facebook and just not being able to have much control. So, yeah, you can go on. Yeah, digital event materials. So for our workshops, we provide professional handouts, digital PDFs, and things for them to leave with. So we do a ton of on-farm workshops with our customers. Kids will leave with scavenger hunt guides, things that they can learn about the education to kind of carry on beyond that they leave. We have an upcoming workshop for farmers to teach them about weddings. And so I've put a lot of effort into actually leaving with a big handbook for them so they feel like they're getting more value with that. Something too, Molly, that you mentioned in the Excite phase that I just wanted to make a note on when you were talking about that customer journey is that when I sell a product like a CSA subscription, I will build in videos where I send them via text so that maybe on week 3, they're like, I don't know how to even arrange these flowers to make it look good in a vase. It's a simple Vimeo 3-minute video of me arranging that week's flowers. It goes on a link and gets sent out. And that's just a little bit of value. Our cutting garden boxes, I really like to follow up with. They get a cutting garden guide, but I also like to follow up with, hey, like, do you have questions about planting? Does this not look good? And so midway through that they still feel like they've got success and I haven't left them hanging with this $120 cutting garden box that they have no clue what they're doing. So professional photos. So we work with professional photographers, videographers to try to, we have a self-serve flower stand, that's what's listed there, that it really takes a lot of education for people. They don't understand that you're letting them in there on the honor system and so, what is the process? And so we have a video on our website. I post the video on social media. But I spent a lot of time, as Adam echoed in the beginning, really trying to elevate my brand with my marketing materials. I want my brand to feel different than just, a regular, sorry, Adam, but a veggie farmer that sells flowers on the side. Sorry, I'm sorry. But so that is what, this is what we do. And so it is important for me, we spent money like with our branding and our logo. And so that's something that we spend a lot of money on. A chunk of our budget every year goes to that for fresh photos. So I think it goes a long way. Podcast. Yeah. So this is just brief. So this is podcast for other farmers. We talk about business marketing. You don't have to just be a flower farmer to get stuff from it. But this also, I think, establishes me with my own farm as an expert in the industry for people that are my other customers. It's a way for me to have, if we have an episode that I want to share that I think they can get something from, then I am able to use that as cross promotion and to kind of educate other people in there. But it is I do kind of keep those customers and that branding separate um, in there. But yeah. And then, so for online courses, so the podcast, we do online courses. We have a membership group, which is it's a paid monthly group. It's a $20 a month that we have farmers that are from all over the world, which is kind of crazy, that are part of it. And we just do it's like a way for us to do a mentorship with farmers. And again, this website is also done with Squarespace as well. And I also have done some online courses as well with my own personal farm. And so that, it just hits a broader audience of people and kind of offers up something different for them to be able to want to experience your farm in a different way. But the membership is something that we meet monthly. We have a Facebook group, but we provide content to them every single week. So it will be a spreadsheet or more or less it's like a lifeline for them to say like, hey, we have trouble, or how do I do the netting, or anything like that. That's kind of how they do that. But yeah, that's it.
Awesome. Thank you, Lyndsay.
Yeah, of course.
Well, Katie, you can go off screen. I hope to just have a good discussion here. I feel like we could talk about all of this for hours. Drop your questions in the chat, but I would love to get us started. I think with where you began in marketing. And so all three of your farms have such great presences online. So for someone who's a little bit more, think about yourself in the year one or year three, like where did you start, and then how have you continued to learn and get better at marketing over time? What specific resources or practice?
You want one of us to share?
We can, all three
Yeah.
of you if you want.
Yeah. Okay. I can just say I started out like I don't like you had said, just show your face. Like I was not doing that. Really insecure. The fact that I write a weekly newsletter to me at times makes me laugh because to say that I have a huge fear of, this like messing up, and I've leaned into that. I've shared that very publicly now. So um, mine was just starting out with social media and just knowing that I wanted to build an email list, starting at the farmer's market, asking to physically collect email addresses. And it was just sort of a slow roll. The biggest shift for me was I met with a business consultant at one point, and it was probably 2 or 3 years in, and she said, everything looks great, it's beautiful, but you are nowhere in any of your marketing. And I don't, I don't relate to that. I don't relate to just pretty flowers. And so to me, I was selling flowers, and the mindset shift from selling flowers to selling connection was the big piece for me. And so I now am more open, and I still am a very private person. And so I try to find this balance between sharing publicly and sharing privately, sharing, what I guess regulating what it is I share. I still struggle with that. But I think the biggest shift for me was just showing up as who I am and letting people relate to that. That was kind of the biggest thing. I read a lot of marketing books. I've listened to a lot of podcasts. I love listening to stuff that's outside the farming industry. I know there's a lot of great resources within the farming industry, but I get the most from sort of outsourcing how other businesses do it. So
Thanks. That's great. Gina or Adam, want to weigh in on how you've evolved?
I think for me, honestly, it's just been trial and error over the years. What works, what doesn't work. Even email marketing that I've done maybe this year didn't work as well as the first year. So it's always an adjustment. When we started, like, everything was word of mouth for us. It was, hey, come help us slaughter some birds. We did that. And then more people heard about us, and it was, hey, can you raise birds for us? And the first thing that we created was the website. Again, it was a place where I could send everybody instead of having to answer all the questions. It was, here you go. But again, I feel like as you keep going, the more you're going to learn, the more you're going to evolve. Where I was last year is not where I'm at this year. The website's not where it was 2 years ago. The resources I have for my customers now, I didn't have 2 years ago. So it really, everybody goes at their own speed, but it just, for me, just what worked, what didn't work, all that evaluation along the way and keep moving forward.
I can echo the trial and errors approach to things. For us, I wanted to start with a website because I knew it could be a place that would be where we could ground everything, and I wanted to direct people there. How to get people there was always like it was sort of trial and error. I really convinced myself that I was going to be, and I've done it like we've been farming for 7 years. I've convinced myself 3 different times that I was going to be a really good email newsletter person, and I'm just not. And so I'd still collect emails. I do that. Like I still have a really substantial email list, and I collect them through everything we do. I get people's email addresses. So I'm gathering a list of people. So if I need to communicate with them, I can. But like I've tried to do it, and it's just not my personality. And it's not, I like to tell stories and I like to write, but I'm too much of a perfectionist and I just spend way too much time doing it. And so um, I've evolved by I tried to do like to copy other people's social media things and to follow trends and try to do those things. And I realized it wasn't accomplishing the goals that I wanted the farm to have. And I was just trying to be something that I'm not. And so and I still try to do silly things. If there's stupid things that I can copy and make fun of myself, then I'll do that. But um, yeah, I just learned to be myself a lot more and learned to communicate authentically from us as people and not just trying to be what marketing books tell us that we should be or how we should function. And so I've tried to take all those like pieces of advice, like I'm still gathering email addresses, even if I don't send them all the time. But I have a CSI member um, who like multiple times has told me, "Why are you writing emails? Please let AI do things for you. Please just let it." And so I have not jumped into that yet, but he is convinced that I could save a whole bunch of time by letting AI do some things for me. And so that's probably in the near future. I don't know. We'll see. But
Can I comment on that?
Yeah.
So I should also say I know Adam. I'm not just like ribbing on him selling veggies and flowers.
yeah, whatever.
About that later.
Whatever, Biehl. Whatever.
Anyway, so I want to I have a strong opinion on AI, and there while it comes with really yes, it can make things fast, but I do really feel like it loses the heart and the connection. Like I can see very easily that an email, I can pull something up or see a post and I'm like, oh yeah, that was AI generated, very much so. And I think that just keeping in mind while it can whip out some content for you. I think the thing, and I'll just say this, I just made a post actually over the weekend at one point about sort of this slowing down phase that I'm in and taking a break. And the post has got the most engagement. I was selling nothing. I was just sharing where I am from a personal standpoint. And it got between Instagram and Facebook probably 1,500 likes itself. I mean, I think the reach was like 17,000. And it was just talking about stuff that was real. And so I think you lose that with AI. So, but I don't know. Sorry, Adam.
No, that's why I keep telling him I'm not going to do it. He keeps saying, please let it'll just, produce small things. And I keep telling him that I don't want to do that because it is my farm. What I communicate from the farm is my voice, and I want it to be my voice. And even like tapping at my wife and I, like she doesn't write or post anything that often, partly because her voice is different and she feels strange because I was always the one who was doing it and she was always just sort of a behind the scenes person. And so she always feels weird when she writes something because it's obviously and noticeably not me, it's her, which I want her to do more of that. But it's just because it's just a different voice. And so I want our farm to communicate from me and not from AI, or from, anything else. I don't want to just have random generated things, but we'll see. Maybe there's some tasks it can help with. I don't know, but we'll see. I'm just a veggie farmer who sells flowers.
I'm sorry.
No, people can read that authenticity. Yeah. So someone in the chat has a question. T. Perkins. I don't know if you want to come off mute and elaborate, but you said, did you all have any training in website development? Has anyone hired someone to help with branding or with site development? Did you just Google how to do it and figure it out? How'd that go for you? Maybe Gina, want to start us off?
Um, for me, in the beginning, I did take a farm marketing course that included website development or just what you needed to include, but it was really figuring out what I liked and didn't like. For me, and I still do it. I will easily admit this that, go explore some other websites that you like. Go see what other farmers are doing. Go see what non-farmers are doing or somebody outside your niche and figure out what you like about their website and why. Play around with their ordering function. Does it make sense? Does it not make sense? And that's kind of what I've done over the years. At least in the beginning, it was like, oh, I like this. And this gives me this feel. So I want to kind of recreate that in my own way for my site. But again, that was in the beginning. Now it's, oh, I kind of know what needs to change and what needs to happen or how I have this vision. It really just for me came with time. And again, I do it every 2 years. So this was rendition, I think, four for me. Um, well, maybe three, but yeah. So that's no formal training. But I also believe like Squarespace, I think the three of us all use Squarespace. It's pretty nice right now. Like it's really easy. And before I forget, Molly, you showed on the slides about doing the online or the mobile. So Squarespace now has that. This is the first rendition I was able to see it. So I can see it as the desktop and then I can go view it as the mobile and make changes in mobile mode to make sure that everything that I wanted to see was visible and in the format that I wanted. And it did not affect the desktop version.
Yeah, that's a great feature. Yeah, a lot of these
You
website
can,
builders are drag and drop, but they're pretty user friendly in a way. Yeah, Adam?
yeah, that's all I was going to say. Some of them are more involved than others. So, like some of them, if you use WordPress or something like that, requires a lot more computer know-how. But things like Squarespace are really simple to be able to function. It takes some time. Like it's a lot of time to like make it what you want it to be. But in terms of like learning it, it's usually fairly simple. A good graphic designer, hire a good graphic designer. That's an easy thing to hire out. You don't have to hire a web designer, but hire somebody to make your images and like get a nice big marketing packet of all materials for you. That's really helpful to have as well.
And keep in mind, you can continuously keep working on your website. It doesn't have to be completely finished. Like I said, I still have a bunch of blogs and recipes to add to mine, but I will stress against this. Don't get a free website. If you really need to pay for a website to actually get things where you want them, traffic to come to you, it is worth the investment.
Well, let's see. What do I ask you next? Adam kind of said, he can make more time for social media. Gina would like to make more, but can make, carves out that time for email marketing. How do you make time? I know you can't, but what are your tips for making space for marketing in your busy week? Maybe Lyndsay can start us off since you're slowing down right now.
Yeah. Yeah. So I've had this like love hate with social. And I think partially it's because content creation is a lot, right? To be original, and I will repurpose, but I sort of just had a mindset shift, probably a year or two ago where I was like, this is part of my job. And I think every job has like some level of suck. And this is just one that I've sort of accepted that like it's just I have to do that in order to kind of continue to create this engagement. So mine though is that I do sit down. Mondays are my day that I sit down and kind of plan out for the week. So I loosely content plan, but there is always something that might pop up that I'm like, oh, that's a great thing to post or in the moment. So I kind of have an idea with my marketing calendar. I have a marketing calendar right here it is that I have planned out for the whole year. And when I say that is, it's like, what are my workshop dates? when's my CSA early bird launch? When is the UPIC open? And so I take those dates and I work back a month before. So then I know, and I have a date in there that'll say, so our design and dine tickets that we always launch in June because there's always a financial gap in June in flowers. And so we sell those tickets intentionally in June to help fill that gap, even though that workshop is not until September. So it's the one that we hype early from a financial planning standpoint. And so I know that I've already started greasing the wheels on social. I've mentioned it in my emails. And so that's how I sort of plan. And for me to have a marketing plan is what has given me structure in order to know that like it's just like a seed starting schedule, right? So a seed starting schedule, if you don't stay on track with your seed starting schedule, you're not, you don't have a crop, you don't have flowers, you don't have vegetables to sell. And so it's the same with the marketing piece. If you aren't going out and nurturing that thing that you're trying to sell so far in advance, and you're last minute trying to sell tickets to a kid's workshop, which I've done before, it just adds a lot of stress. You don't get the reach that you really could. You're not able to tease it out in the same way. So I really block that and schedule that time, usually at the beginning of the week on Mondays is how I plan out and just look at like, what do I have coming out in the next 2 weeks and how do I kind of schedule that? So
That's great. Adam or Gina, any time tips?
I don't have a marketing notebook, but I do similar things in making sure that when our CSA goes on sale, I have to have this many emails ready to go, 2 months in advance, or we try to sell them in February because that's when our low income point is in February. And so we put CSA shares on sale in February, even though they don't go actually to people until May. And so I do try to plan things out that way. Social media plan is really loose. I try to do like one informational post a week. I just carry my phone with me and do stories as I go. It's usually something stupid or something silly or something the dog is doing or, just something to keep engagement. But I try to plan at least one post that's substantial a week. But no, I don't have a big long notebook plan things, but it's a similar structure to what we do. So
Yeah, I agree with both of them. Having a schedule, and scheduling your week and having time set aside for this, you kind of have to. Obviously, I'm not great at that. It's not something, again, I struggle with it. So I try not to schedule it, but I know that I need to. And if I did, then my post would be more consistent and better. So
there is a scheduling function that I use too through Facebook, like through the Meta business that you can use. There's a lot of scheduling. There's like later.com and some other places that you can use to schedule posts, that you can still kind of use that and make it kind of feel organic too. So helps me to time block those things because I'm sure we've all been there where you're trying to make a post on social and you can just like overthink it and overthink the caption and like what am I going to write and blah blah blah. So it's like when I sit down, I know I'm going to batch it out. I know I'm giving myself 1 hour to write a newsletter and 5 posts, so that helps me to just like kind of keep that and hold myself a little bit more accountable for it. So
I might say just as we're talking about this, just maybe one of the reasons why, and maybe this is just justifying my own way of doing things, but in general, like the way you market things is going to really vary depending on what kind of farm you have and the way that you sell your products. Like I don't have an online store. Like I sell tomatoes. Like nobody, there are ways to sell vegetables online that does home deliveries or like pre-orders and those kind of things. We don't do any of that. And so I don't really have a store that I can sell things that I need to be constantly sending emails to people to say, hey, there's tomatoes available because they're going to come to the farmer's market and buy those. And I know I've pre-sold a whole bunch of CSA shares that all that stuff is going to go into their boxes. And we do a lot of wholesale that I have 7 or 8 restaurants that I just can text every week and say, here's what's available. And so like if you are a farm that doesn't require a big long marketing plan where you have to constantly be putting things in front of people's faces, then some of these things are gonna not be applicable in terms of like making a big schedule for marketing, because you may not have to. Like, I don't have to market my tomatoes because people come to the market and buy them because they taste good. And so I like to put them on available, but there's just not a lot of things that I have to do. And so maybe you might be a different kind of farm that doesn't require having to constantly be moving people to your website so that you can be constantly taking orders and bringing income in. We don't have income from the website except for CSA. So yeah, just take that into consideration, that your farm, the way your farm looks and the way you sell and the products that you sell are going to determine how you market and what kind of marketing features matter to you are going to be most profitable. So just high level thing there.
Yeah, that's a great point, Adam. You got to know your customers and their needs. I think the first webinar in this series, Three Creeks Produce in the Columbus area, they sell, I think, 100% wholesale. So that's going to be very different marketing for them. They think they have a website, they have a social media, but different, kind of approach and content they're putting out. So I am going to wrap us. Actually, Katie, do you think, putting you on the spot, you could share screen again for those last couple slides? I do have some next steps. It's going to vary depending on where you're at with your farm. But there's a lot of learning you can do. You heard how each of these farms learn, but we have 3 great farms here where you could sign up for farm newsletters, go to their social media pages, check out their websites, and kind of learn something for how they have crafted those over time. There's a couple books I've offered here. There's a lot of marketing information out there. So this is by all, certainly not exhaustive. And I really like Lyndsay's point about like, look outside of the industry as well. And some of that book on the psychology of persuasion, that's about all things, influencing people. Lots of podcasts to listen to. I listed there. Next slide is some actions, I think. Oh, more learning. Oh, also tons of online courses, both from like extension type providers or farms that have developed, courses, and a lot of good stuff there. Look at some website and email softwares and compare pricing. You can also sign up for Rural Action's Whole Farm Post. Katie puts it out every 2 weeks with offerings like this and external partners who have educational opportunities. And then a couple actions with some beautiful lettuce from Blaney on the right there. If you have a website, maybe go to your website and kind of look at it with fresh eyes. Ask yourself, if you're selling through it, is it clear how to buy from you in a few words? Is there a call to action? Can you find your contact information easily? A couple questions more I put there for you to review. Maybe start a list of social media post ideas. I just have a notes app on my phone where I jot down ideas of, when I can't have time to write the post, but I can come back to it later. Think about where you can ask for those emails. If you are driving people to a newsletter regularly, can you do that on social media, on your website? And then practice some emails. Think through some content. Another thing is, it was helpful for me to map through that customer value journey and how we're moving people along it and where we really have, shortfalls and how we're meeting customers. So check that out. And then I really briefly touched on like third-party databases. I'm kind of curious if the panelists do this, but there are like external listservs of farms, Ohio Proud, Wedding Wire. If you're in the wedding business, like you can list your business in other places, and that can also help drive people to your website. So those are options. I think that's everything I had. Thanks everyone for joining, and reach out to Gina, Lyndsay, Adam, or me if you have more questions. Really appreciate the 3 of you and your time.
Thanks, everyone. Thanks for joining.
Thanks for having us.
Yes,
Thank you.
Have a good night.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.